Good evening, I'm Ces Oreña-Drilon.
I'm Pauline Verzosa.
And I'm Shawn Yao.
The big stories tonight. The accused is now the accuser. Social media operator Franco Mabanta turns the tables on Congressman Martin Romualdez, claiming he was set up to hide the former speaker's so-called breathtaking corrupt ways.
And the former and current Senate Blue Ribbon Committee chairman still at it. This time around, Senators Ping Lacson and Rodante Marcoleta get strange and sarcastic with their back and forth marked by both high praises and scathing criticism.
And then there's also the Battle of the Batanggenyos. Executive Secretary Ralph Recto and Congressman Leandro Leviste. They have resorted to name-calling.
It's not true. That's it. How can we extort when they were the ones who came to us?
Nag-demand sila ng 4 tranches. So yung 4 tranches is consisting of 75 million per tranche.
Hindi po siya kaibigan ng Pangulo. Ito po ay mismong pinost ni Franco Mabanta. Itanong niyo kung ano po ang relasyon niya sa mga Duterte.
A complaint filed by former House Speaker Martin Romualdez has led to the arrest of social media personality Franco Mabanta. Mabanta allegedly blackmailed Romualdez to paying up to 350 million pesos to stop the release of material that linked him to the flood control scandal. Mabanta claims he was set up. Mobile journalist Daniel Dayao with tonight's big story.
Who is Franco Mabanta? And more importantly, why would he try to extort millions of pesos from former House Speaker Martin Romualdez? Mabanta was arrested on Tuesday night by National Bureau of Investigation agents in relation to a complaint filed by Romualdez himself. The complaint goes that Mabanta, a social media personality and founder of media startup company Peanut Gallery Media Network, allegedly demanded a huge amount of money. That's in exchange for non-airing of his supposed documentary that would pin down Romualdez in the flood control controversy. Mabanta purportedly demanded 350 million pesos, negotiated down to 300 million payable in 4 tranches. A portion of the documentary material was allegedly sent to lend credence to the threat.
Nag-demand sila ng 4 tranches. So yung 4 tranches is consisting of 75 million per tranche. Meron deadline eh. So kung hindi masettle yun, May 5, magre-release sila ng first part 1 ng video.
Based on the NBI report, Mabanta met with undercover agents, posing as representatives of the complainant at a hotel in Makati City. During the meeting, Mabanta allegedly reiterated his demand and instructed the agents to deliver the money at a country club in Pasig City.
Ang problema lang, yung subject ayaw niyang tanggapin yung pera personally. And ang explanation niya nga kasi doon sa lugar, sa hotel, so maraming CCTV. So nag-instruction sa amin, nadalhin ito sa isang lugar sa Pasig.
There, the entrapment money was received by one of the 4 individuals arrested with Franco. The money was then brought to a function room inside the country club where Mabanta and 2 more individuals were waiting. 2 of those arrested are also connected with PGMN. Mabanta, together with his alleged cohorts, were presented to the media on Wednesday by the NBI. There, Mabanta denied any wrongdoing and claimed he was set up.
Yeah, it's not true. It's not true. That's it.
So hindi kayo nag-extort
No.
300 million pesos?
No, definitely not. How can we extort when they were the ones who came to us?
According to the NBI, the extortion plan was put together as early as last year. It was only recently when Romualdez's camp sought the NBI's help on the matter. Despite reports that the video material used in the alleged extortion is connected to the flood control controversy, NBI Director Melvin Matibag said this is still under investigation.
Ang NBI po will act on evidence. Evidence-based po tayo even dito sa nangyari na to. Sinundan natin kung saan po pumunta yung ebidensya.
Matibag also clarified that Mabanta's arrest has nothing to do either with the freedom of the press or the freedom of expression.
Kung may mga personality na tumitira reputational attacks to gain money, to gain position, dapat yun yung managot. Pero yung NBI, let's be fair to the men and women of NBI, law enforcement itong mga to. We act based on evidence.
The Peanut Gallery Media Network, for its part, said their documentary on Romualdez was the result of immense, comprehensive, and painful research when he was still Speaker of the House of Representatives. They accused the president's cousin of moving to silence them because the timing of the release of their expose would leave him in a desperate situation. PGMN also claimed that President Marcos is now listening to the people and wants to hold the man believed to have sabotaged the first 3 years of his term accountable. Romualdez has yet to respond to the statement. After Mabanta's arrest, social media posts came out with photos showing him with the chief executive. Mabanta was part of the Uniteam campaign during the 2022 elections that resulted in the massive victory of Marcos and now estranged Vice President Sara Duterte. After that, PGMN was formed, now perceived as a pro-Duterte outfit.
Hindi po siya kaibigan ng Pangulo, pero siguro mas nanaisin ko po kung ito po ang inyong itatanong dahil ito po ay mismong pinost ni Franco Mabanta. Baka ito po ang itanong nyo kung ano po ang relasyon niya sa mga Duterte. Lalong-lalo na po, marami naman po yata siyang na-feature sa kanyang mga articles na halos ay kumakalaban sa administrasyon.
Mabanta and the 3 other suspects have been brought to the NBI detention facility in Muntinlupa. They are facing charges of robbery, extortion. The NBI also disclosed that they are now conducting an investigation to determine if there are other politicians or personalities who were victimized by the arrested suspects. Kapatid Mobile Journal, Daniel Dayaw, we are One News.
Moving on to the Duterte impeachment, the vice president is not concerned over the outcome of the House vote, nor the case going to trial at the Senate. But what she does worry about is its impact on her family. This report from mobile journalist Amy Atienza.
Monday, May 11 marks the start of House plenary debates on the report that will impeach Vice President Sara Duterte a second time. All congressmen, complainants, and the respondent herself had already been furnished copies of the articles of impeachment.
Saturday and Sunday to study the articles of impeachment and the evidence. For me, I submit that this 4 days is enough to comply with the reasonable period required in the Supreme Court decision.
If all goes according to timeline and plan, voting on whether she should be impeached could also happen on the same day. The magic number, 106, or a third of the House membership. The vote will then send the case to the upper chamber, the impeachment court. For House Deputy Speaker Ronnie Puno, the number will be overwhelming enough and breach the required yeses to impeach the VP one more time.
Kung ipagsama mo yung boto ng lakas lang at ng 55 na bumoto sa committee, you will already get your 106. Di ba? So, what are the odds? Kung pumupusta ka sa karera ng kabayo, panalo na siguro itong kabayong ito kasi 106 lang ang kailangan.
Lakas CMD, the biggest party in the House at the moment, met on Wednesday afternoon. There, at least 60 members have expressed intent to move the Duterte impeachment forward to full trial.
So definitely, as a party, we go behind the party's, the party members that have already invested in this proceeding, in this process of impeachment, namely the chair and the endorser. So we expect that Lakas will come out strong in terms of its vote. So it's possible that 200 votes might be secured.
The second largest bloc at the upper chamber, Congressman Puno's National Unity Party or NUP, could deliver more than 30 votes. That's only 60% of their total membership. It will be a conscience vote which could be swayed by a lot of factors, even personalities.
Yung mga problema dyan, siyempre in Mindanao, nahirapan yung aming mga miyembro kasi when they ask around, everybody says no. In other areas, as you know, the Iglesia ni Cristo has a very strong position about this matter, and it continues to be there.
And while her fate as VP could be decided over the next weeks or even months, Sara Duterte is not letting it worry her.
Lahat ng mga nangyayari sa buhay ng isang tao ay sinulat yan ng Diyos. So kung ma-impeach ako, yan ay sinulat na ng Diyos. Kung hindi man ako ma-impeach, see you sa
2028.
See you tomorrow.
The vice president is now at The Hague visiting her ICC-detained father, former President Rodrigo Duterte, who himself is awaiting full trial, this time for crimes against human over his very own drug war. Sara is adamant she will face her impeachment, but she wants her family left out of it. The VP's husband, attorney Man Scarpio, has also been dragged in the case, with his bank transactions publicized in one House Justice Committee hearing.
Well, I think it's unfair dahil hindi naman sila vice president and hindi naman sila ini-impeach. And tulad ng mga asawa at mga anak din ng mga congressman, they have the right to privacy, being ordinary individuals and private citizens.
We're looking at it purely on the basis of the facts, on the basis of what came out, on the basis of the evidence, and in the name of truth and accountability. Wala po sa amin yan. It has nothing to do with friends, enemies, etc. It's all about accountability.
Kapatid Amy Atienza, we are One News.
The 48th ASEAN Summit is now underway in Cebu with a series of high-level meetings set to shape discussions among regional leaders. And for the latest developments, we now go live to One News anchor Kathy Yang, who is in Cebu City. Good evening, Kathy. Bring us up to speed.
Maayong gabi, Pauline. Yes, it's all about navigating our future together, and it's an interesting concept or theme, Pauline, because this was conceived well before the Middle East conflict. So you can just see the kind of pivoting that a lot of the regional leaders has had to have, especially the Philippines as chair. Now that it has to get everybody together to frame this need to unify because of that shared energy shock that has impacted our wallets, our expenses, inflationary pressures all across the region. And in particular, the Philippines, who were coming from the economic after effects of the flood control corruption scandal. So one can say we weren't really in the best position to be, first of all, chairing, but it can also be framed as an opportunity to actually take the lead in discussing about energy security, regional security, and also getting trade diversification going for the sake of first thinking about the Philippines and also thinking about that region. So, Pauline, the real big challenge is really getting everybody to sign deals that would mean lower maybe energy prices and also get everybody to trade with each other, not think about national first policies. I mean, the tendency is really to think about the nation first. And that's understandable. But because ASEAN exists since 1967, the idea is to cooperate and to integrate where economies can benefit. And this is where the Philippines really has to rally everybody together and ensure that they come out with a communique that means something for everybody, not just the Philippines. Pauline.
Well, you're right, Kathy. As you mentioned, ASEAN is eyeing for long-term energy security solutions. So tell us more about the ASEAN Petroleum Security Agreement, or APSA. What's the latest on that?
I know. I've been learning all these acronyms. I was saying every time I attend a summit like this, it's like new acronyms. You've mentioned one of them. It's the APSA. It's the ASEAN Petroleum Security Agreement. It is self-explanatory, but it goes many, many years back. And I was just looking at all the documentation. It's like it's just sat there for the longest time. No one really putting it out there on a leader summit's communique. But right now, it's become front and center of every discussion because this agreement, APSA, as it's called, is a voluntary mechanism for a coordinated response during supply disruptions. So when you come to think about it, it's all 11 member nations in ASEAN, the haves and the have-nots. Some of the countries produce oil, like Indonesia, Malaysia. We do in a small amount, and not like we can export it. We even need to import it. So for leaders to be able to think beyond national first mindset, it's going to be the biggest challenge to get the Malaysians, the Indonesians to say, all right, I'm going to give you some oil. But yeah, I got to take care of my people first. So you can just imagine the challenge that lies before the president in sharing this ASEAN summit here. The other acronym that we must remember is an interesting one. It's called DEFA. Kind of sounds like it's somewhere in the area of defense, but it's not. It is the Digital Economy Framework Agreements. And this came about after a couple of iterations, and it's going to be, if signed, a landmark world-first regional pact accelerating ASEAN's digital economy. And they've got metrics to back that up. I was just looking at the data, and it would double the value of the digital economy in the ASEAN to $2 trillion by 2030. When you come to think of it, after the whole Trump tariff war, this becomes a need, not a nice to have. So those are the two acronyms that we have to think about if we would consider the Philippines ASEAN chairship a success. Trade Secretary Chris Roque had told me earlier in a forum that I had moderated, it's these two acronyms. It's APSA and DEFA. Pauline?
Well, you're right, Kathy. Aside from energy security, there's also a push to accelerate digital transformation. As you mentioned, the DEFA, the Digital Economy Framework Agreement, it aims to connect MSMEs across the region. So what kind of businesses will benefit from this kind of agreement?
A lot. It's going to be a lot. And I can say for sure, I've spoken with a lot of women who are trying to help other women get those MSMEs into the digital space. So that's one. They want to ensure that local becomes regional, becomes global. So that is the trajectory of the kind of help they want from a digital economy. And that is something that they will pursue by the end, towards the end of this year, when the leaders actually get back together with the dialogue partners, China, US, and that comes in November. But that is something that has been talked about, and they want to do it in scale. If I could pick on one maybe item from Indonesia, like say the batik, we go into any shop, be it Indonesia, Singapore, maybe even Malaysia, you find the batik so easily. But we can't find an inaul or maybe some other fabric that we find as an indigenous fabric here in the Philippines in maybe Singapore's Orchard Road, in Kuala Lumpur. That's the goal, that we make available and make commercially scale these weaves that come from indigenous communities in the Philippines.
And going back quickly to energy, I mean, while ASEAN is trying to achieve energy security, it is also rapidly accelerating its transition to electric vehicles. So what were discussions like in relation to EVs and charging stations?
I know, it's so interesting. I mean, every time I'm on the road now, I'm trying to look at how many cars are there that are EVs that are not. And it's a lot more. And that conversation earlier, when I had that forum that I moderated with Mitsubishi Motors and Toyota Motors in the panel, they said that the need for EVs had accelerated. And that's a reason why Secretary Chris Roque was very big on promoting EV loans. EV loans that she launched about 2-3 weeks ago. And on my program, Money Talks, she made a mention of the intense need, the increased need of seeking a loan from the DTI to purchase an EV so that our small operators wouldn't have to pay for extra cost of fuel. But here's the thing, financing is one, it's one issue. But then off the cuff, she remembered one very important takeaway from her visit in Negros. When she talked with the small operators, sure, they said, oh, great, we have financing. We're going to take it. We like it. But we have one more question. Where are we going to charge our cars? Where's the charging station? So that's where the supply chain issue comes in. And that's where Secretary Chris had joined all the players in the EV ecosystem to try and build some charging stations. This is what she had to say.
Aside from the service, what's important for these manufacturers is to make sure there's a lot of charging stations, because to sell the vehicles now at this day and age is going to be easy because of the crisis. So everybody knows the need for the electric vehicles.
All right, Kathy. Well, let's talk about trade diversification as well. This has always been a strategic priority for ASEAN. So what's the latest on free trade agreements?
Well, a lot more acronyms, I must say. FTAs, as they say, free trade agreements. Secretary Chris, in my micro session with her, highlighted once again that this administration is going to finish up with 21 free trade deals. They're going to seal that, sign and seal it before the end of the Marcos administration. And she said this is going to be the administration that signs the most number of deals. Why? Perhaps in the context of the Trump tariff wars, everybody's learned their lesson. Everybody's got to diversify. So we've got one coming up, very excitingly so, because in my past conversations over the last 2 weeks, it had always been the EU-Philippines free trade agreement that's about to conclude in June or July. And again, the good secretary had reiterated that it is coming through. The final touches are already being made to make that agreement. Along with that, there's 3 others that we can expect. It's the Canada-Philippines FTA, Chile PH FTA. Now, I asked her, whenever I am confronted by folks who watch us about the ASEAN coverages, it's like, so what does this mean for me? And I asked her the very same question. And she came back to say, it's really all about jobs. Because when you have a free trade agreement, you're going to be lowering tariffs on both sides, both partners. And when the tariffs come down, investments will push in. And when investments push in, that's when you create jobs. It takes time, but as soon as those agreements are made, then at least that path, that runway had already been set. Pauline.
All right, well, I understand tomorrow it's all about sustainability, but for now, thank you very much for sharing those updates. That was One News anchor Kathy Yang reporting to us live from Cebu City.
And now we go to Albay, where stricter security measures are up. Some residents have attempted to enter the 6-kilometer permanent danger zone around Mayon amid heavy ashfall from the volcano. Residents wanted to check on their properties, crops, and livestock in restricted areas. But the Albay police insist it is not safe to enter the permanent danger zone. To keep people from that vicinity, border control points have been set up, which also cover the 7-kilometer radius extended zone. Violators of the no-entry rule will be fined 5,000 pesos and could face 1-year jail time.
Delikado po sa kanila. At the same time din po, kailangan po din natin na mamonitor yung mga tao pong pumaakyat dito. Kasi po during sa rescue operation, kailangan aware po tayo na meron pa pala dito mga individual na kailangan po ng ating assistance. Ang habol po natin dito ay zero casualty. Kaya po talagang naghihigpit po tayo.
At present, more than 1,000 families remain in evacuation centers around Albay. There's still a problem with overcrowding in these shelters. Evacuees are also appealing for more provisions, especially for children and the elderly.
Kinakabahan po ako baka bumagsak ng bigla yung abo. Kasi madilim na siya eh. Malalanghap niya yung yung amoy ng abo. Yun ang pinaka ko po. Kasi hindi pa niya kaya yung yung matanda nga, nahihirapan po siya yung maghinga.
Meanwhile, satellite data from the Philippine Space Agency, or PhilSA, showed that ashfall from Mayon now covers at least 8,544 hectares of Albay land. That is roughly half the size of Quezon City. Another satellite-derived map from PhilSA yielded the specific areas affected. As of Wednesday, 8 towns and cities in Albay have been placed under a state of calamity because of Mayon's unrest. And these are Tabaco, Legazpi, Ligao, Kamalig, Malilipot, Santo Domingo, Daraga, and Ginubatan. There was no ashfall recorded throughout the day, but nevertheless, flushing operations continue with the provincial government hoping to finish the cleanup within a week.
You're still watching The Big Story on One News, and coming up, the verbal tussle between Senators Panfilo Lacson and Rodante Marcoleta just got more interesting. Now they're talking about a friendship that could have been. That and more when we return. Stay tuned. The big story is back with a rift growing wider by the day between Senate President pro tempore Panfilo Lacson and Senator Rodante Marcoleta. Lacson reveals information that some 500 million pesos in projects were allocated to Marcoleta. Lacson cited his source, a handwritten statement of the late Public Works Undersecretary Maria Catalina Cabral. Lacson, however, clarified there's still no reason to investigate Marcoleta since a mere allocation is not illegal. But Lacson said they now have to check if there are ghost or substandard projects involved. Marcoleta has yet to respond to this allegation.
Sabi ko nga, yung request for allocables, although sa tingin ko, hindi proper, pero hindi naman illegal. Kasi dati naman pinapractice. Pero yung binigyan ka ng items, tapos sinabstandard ng contractor mo, ginos project ng contractor mo, doon may problema.
Pa-clarify, kasama bang irerekomenda sa ombudsman na imbestigahan si Marcoleta?
Depende. Sa ngayon hindi. Pero kung meron siyang participation doon sa mga, kung magkakaroon ng ghost or substandard, he should be treated in the same manner na natrato ibang senador, ibang congressman. Diba?
Just yesterday, tensions flared between the current and former chairman of the powerful Senate Blue Ribbon Committee. It began when Senator Lacson gave an update on the panel's probe into the flood control scam. Senator Marcoleta earlier said he wanted to debate his successor, but the Senate President pro tempore declined. Lacson said he would only respond once the partial committee report reaches the plenary. Marcoleta then said his admiration for Lacson had faded, claiming the senator has changed. Lacson fired back during a briefing, saying it was Marcoleta who had changed and was, quote, no longer in sync with reality.
Nakilala ko po si Senator Lacson bilang chief ng PNP. Talaga pong hinangaan ko. Yung ginagawa ni Chief PNP, Ping Lacson, gusto ko din yun. Pero bakit ngayon po ay nagkaiba, Mr. President? Parang yung pedestal na aking hinangaan, yung alamat na nandoon, unti-unting gumuho.
Hindi naman na po kailanman magbabago. Ang nagbago si Senator Marcoleta kasi nawala siya sa hulog. Hindi na siya in sync with reality. Hindi ko alam kung bakit. Kasi alam naman natin, di ba, sa balik-taktakan, parang wala sa katwiran madalas. So parang hindi niya matanggap na napalitan siyang blue ribbon. Sana maging BFF uli kami, na totoong BFF.
Okay.
Sir, there's always a proper time for that.
Now on to another word war. Executive Secretary Ralph Recto has responded to claims against him by Batangas 1st District Representative Leandro Leviste. In a speech before the House last Tuesday, Leviste alleged that E.S. Recto has financial connections with CWS Party List Representative Edwin Gargiola, who is allegedly involved in flood control controversies. This apparently was Leviste's response to reports that Recto called him crazy. Leviste also alleged that Guardiola spent 1 billion pesos to fund the 2022 campaign of Batangas Governor Vilma Santos Recto and son Luis Manzano.
Kayang tumulong daw sa pagpondo ng mga proyekto ng DPWH si Secretary Recto dahil siya ay nasa kabinete at si Kong Gargiola din ay malakas daw sa DPWH at maaaring siya na ang bahala sa kontraktor. Bakit si Gargiola gumastos ng mahigit 1 billion piso para sa mga Recto? Ito ba ay pagkakaibigan lang o may ginagawa ba si Ralph Recto as Cabinet Secretary of the Republic of the Philippines para makapaggastos ng ganito si Gargiola? Kung baliw man ako, at least hindi ako magnanakaw.
E.S. Recto in a statement said it was Leviste who sought his help to bribe his political rivals in the last elections. The supposed bribe even went up to 1 billion pesos to stop his wife, Vilma, to give way to Leviste's bid for governor. Recto maintained he has no ghost flood control projects in their province. Likewise clapped back at Leviste and called the neophyte lawmaker, quote, a bitter brat prone to tantrums. Recto went on to call Leviste deranged and dangerous and the leading national inventor of lies.
And here now are the other stories making headlines this midweek. We begin with the latest labor figures from the Philippine Statistics Authority. The country's unemployment rate stood at 5% in March. This was higher than the 3.9% recorded a year ago, but slightly lower than the 5.1% posted in February. This means about 2.5 or 2.58 million Filipinos were jobless during the month. Meanwhile, the March employment and underemployment rates also slightly declined to 95% and 12.3% respectively compared to the previous year.
Now in other news, a new SWS survey shows 4 out of 10 Filipinos expect their quality of life to improve over the next 12 months. The results found only 38% expect improvement. That is down from 44% in November 2025. This is the lowest since the 33% recorded in September of 2021 at the height of the pandemic. Meanwhile, those expecting their lives to worsen doubled to 16%, the first double-digit pessimism rate since 2020. Another 32% said their quality of life will stay the same, while 14% did not give any answer.
And overseas, 38 Filipino crew members are among the 61 people on board the MV Hondius, a cruise ship hit by a suspected hantavirus outbreak. As of May 4, the World Health Organization has confirmed a total of 7 cases, including 3 deaths. Hantavirus is a rodent-borne disease that can cause severe respiratory illness in humans. At present, it has no vaccine or cure.
We're just going to pause for another breather, but after that, we talk about cervical cancer, the second most common form of cancer among Filipino women, but also the most preventable and treatable with early detection and vaccination. Don't miss that conversation. Keep it here on One News.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us here on The Big Story. May is Cervical Cancer Awareness and Prevention Month. While it's a 99% preventable disease, there are Filipinas who still die from it. In fact, it has been ranked as the second most common malignancy here next to breast cancer. And joining us to discuss this is Dr. Kirsten Erica Ortiz, an obstetrician gynecologist. Good evening, doctor. Welcome to The Big Story.
Hi, good evening.
So, why are the deaths or the death rate so high when it's a completely preventable cancer, doctor?
So, as you have said, cervical cancer is the second most common cancer among Filipino women, next to breast cancer, no? So, it is really highly preventable. However, yung screening is hindi siya masyadong parang hindi na-encourage ang ating mga Filipino women to undergo early screening and prevention.
But there is a vaccine that young girls can take, and is that not given out for free po?
Yes, it is called the HPV vaccine or the human papillomavirus vaccine. It is best given for grade school. So for girls and boys, usually recommended to be given as early as 9 years old.
Right.
However, siguro because kulang, lack of knowledge regarding that vaccine, so hindi po siya masyadong napupush. However, our government, also the local and national government, they have programs for vaccination, public schools, local health centers, and public hospitals. And you can also get it from private clinics.
So in public schools, it's given out for free?
Yes. However, yung stocks kasi,
Okay.
so
Kasama ba to
medyo
sa
limited,
mga
yes.
nag-expire o palapit na mag-expire na rinireklamo ng mga empleyado ng DOH?
Yun ay hindi ko po sure. Pero yun nga, hindi siguro po masyadong nabibigyan ng pansin yung importance ng HPV vaccination and yung knowledge regarding that vaccination and as a prevention for possible cancer. Actually po, si HPV vaccine or yung si HPV infection is not for cervical cancer lang. So madami pa po siyang pwedeng para maging cause ng cancer.
So, talk us through that human papilloma virus. So, if I remember correctly, ang tinuro sa amin sa guidance nung unang panahon ay medyo sexually transmitted ito, Doc.
Yes. So, HPV infection is very common na sexually transmitted. However, since HPV din po ang nag-cause ng warts, genital warts, so it can also be transmitted through intimate skin-to-skin contact.
And if you have been diagnosed, for example, you got the genital warts or something, does that automatically mean mas mataas yung chance mo magkaroon ng cervical cancer?
So, HPV infection, hindi po talaga siya nawawala, no? However, pag na-detect ng immune system and kung maganda ang immune system po nung nakakuha ng ganang infection, pwede siyang mawala yung symptoms pero not totally mag-clear, and then pwede siya maging inactive. However, HPV infection kasi usually no symptoms. Pero hindi din po lahat nagpo-progress to cancer.
Okay, one last follow-up from me, Doc. When is it too late to get the vaccine? Or may ganun bang, kasi you were
Parang
saying,
may tanning ata, no?
oo, may tanning ba?
period.
Like if you're 30 na, parang is that too late? Or worse, 40 plus, is that too late?
Yes, so as per CDC guidelines, it can be given up to 45 years old. However, yung target is as early as 9 years old, yung before pa magkaroon ng any sexual contact or before exposure pa sa HPV virus.
Well, nabanggit nyo nga, Doc, cervical cancer is one of the most preventable and treatable types of cancer. But how early should it be detected para maging treatable pa po ito?
So as per guidelines, WHO and Society of Obstetrician Gynecologists, the screening is recommended by age 30. However, kung kunyari promiscuous ang lifestyle or sex worker, yung mga ganon, it can be earlier. So, ang recommendation po ngayon is from 30 years old. So we have, idiretso ko na po, no? So we have different types of screening. Okay.
Oh, go ahead,
Go ahead.
Okay. So we have different types of screening. So we have the pap smear, the HPV DNA testing, the co-testing, which is a combination of pap smear and the HPV DNA test. And dun sa mga low resource area, we can also do the VIA or the visual inspection via acetic acid.
So those are the screening options. Pero when it comes to treatment options, Doc, ano po ba yung mga pwedeng gawin? Let's say na-detect po siya stage 1, stage 2 ng cervical cancer. Is that still treatable?
Actually po, 95% of cervical cancer na detected early or at stage 1A, 95% po nun pwede siyang matreat.
Yeah.
However, kung medyo mas late, mas lumiliit yung chance of survival. So, yung treatment, meron po tayong cryotherapy, laser, surgery, or pag medyo late stage na, the patient may need to undergo radiation or chemotherapy. So, depende po siya sa stage na detected and kung meron na siyang spread sa other organs.
Is it correct early detection is good because this is one of the slowest cancers to progress? Tama po ba?
Yes, opo. So, kaya din sinasabi na once detected early, mas mataas yung survival rate.
And how often should women be screened? Is it annually?
No naman po. So, for pap smear, it can be done kung negative, it can be done after 5 years, 3 to 5 years. Also for HPV DNA testing, so kung negative naman, screening test can be done po after 3 to 5 years. And then with co-testing, it can be up to parang 5 to 10 years.
Doc, I understand that most cases of cervical cancer do come from the HPV, human papillomavirus, but there is that rare kind that is a non-HPV type of cervical cancer, and I understand it's more aggressive. So how would you know, kung alin doon sa dalawa? Like, meron bang difference sa symptoms?
Actually po, yung ganyan is through pathology testing na. So, sa laboratory, and then pag makikita kung anong type ng cancer. So, madami din po kasing type ng cervical cancer. So, hindi lang siya basta cervical cancer. So, sa yung pathologist, ang yung katulong namin para ma-identify. And then, merong mga immunostaining to parang further differentiate kung ito ba siya or itong klase ng cancer. So, madami siyang steps para totally malaman kung what type of cervical cancer yung nasa patient.
Doc, ang daming mga clinics ngayon catering to specifically giving the HPV vaccine. I've been seeing them actually on my Instagram. Wala lang ako idea kung prohibitive ba yung cost, covered ba ito ng PhilHealth. Ano yung options for women? Siyempre, iba-ibang budget nating lahat.
Right.
So, kaya so si HPV vaccine, it's private clinics, and pwede siya for, parang magre-range from 3,000 to 10,000. Kaya may program ang government for free na vaccination. Pero kumbaga parang ang target is, or ang priority is yung target population which is our grade schoolers.
Yeah.
So, yon.
So this month dapat merong campaign.
Dapat may stock.
Oo.
This May.
Yeah, because it's cervical cancer awareness month. Meron po ba?
Yes. Meron po dito sa amin, locally, meron. Kaya lang, sad to say, medyo limited po yung stocks. And ano din po siya dito, hindi lang po siya for girls. So, pati boys kailangan din po siya. So, yes. However, since si HPV is pinaka-common talaga na cause of cervical cancer, mas priority ang girls.
Doc, ano po ba yung mga early symptoms or signs of cervical cancer that ladies should watch out for in case hindi pa po sila nakakuha ng HPV vaccine?
Okay. So, cervical cancer na symptoms or may problem sa cervix, hindi siya talaga yung specific kasi baka, baka kabahan kasi yung mga nakikinig or nanonood sa atin, no? Meron kang pwedeng ma-experience abnormal na vaginal bleeding, and then meron kang pwedeng ma-experience na heavy, na foul smelling, na discharge, pain during intercourse, and then pwede siya, meron parang post-coital bleeding or yung after may intercourse, bigla kang nagbi-bleed. Yun yung mga common, or yung chronic na pelvic pain, back pain, or changes sa bowel or urinary symptoms.
So once they experience these symptoms, Doc, kailangan magpa-check na po sila kaagad. How yung timetable para doon, Doc? How urgent yung ganong, how soon should they seek medical treatment?
Additional question before we answer. I think what Pawi means is, kung nagkaroon ka na ng mga symptoms na yun, does that mean like, baka medyo, kumbaga hindi ka na nasa super early stage?
Yun nga, yung sinabi ko po kanina, hindi kasi siya ganun ka-specific. na basta nagkaroon ka ng ganitong symptoms, cervical cancer na siya. So, like abnormal vaginal bleeding, marami siyang possible causes. Chronic pelvic pain, madami din po siyang causes. Or yung foul-smelling discharge, pain after intercourse or during. So, much better po if meron pong hindi normal na symptoms na napansin or naramdaman, wag po matakot na magpa-check up. So, mas maganda po mag-visit, okay lang. Maganda po kung ito ay kunyari, simpleng infection lang, pwedeng UTI, kung meron pong urinary symptoms. Mas maganda po na malaman mismo sa doktor, kahit gaano kaliit lang yung infection, gaano ka mild, okay lang po sa amin na mag-consult. So, ulitin ko po, yung mga ganong symptoms, hindi naman po siya agad cervical cancer na. So, usually po kasi natatakot yung mga pasyente. Kasi baka feeling nila, meron na ako cervical cancer.
Ano po naman ang lifestyle na dapat obserbahan para hindi magkaroon ng cervical cancer?
So kasama po sa risk factor kasi of having or yung mas tumataas ang chance na magkaroon ng cervical cancer is early age at sexual contact, multiple sexual partners, smoking. Related din po siya to para mag-increase ang risk for cervical cancer. Siyempre, kunyari po kung kayo ay diagnosed with HIV or yung immune system is sobrang weak, so immunosuppressed. Yung iba po, kunyari prolonged use of oral contraceptive pills, strong family history of cancer. So, yun po yung mga risk factors. So, ang kabaliktaran nun for prevention, so maging faithful, wag maaga ang sexual contact. So, preferably after marriage.
Could that
yes.
Sorry to interrupt, Doc, but could that be the
Yes,
reason why some parents are hesitant to to allow their daughters or sons to have the vaccine? It will encourage
yes.
early
Yes.
sexual activity.
Actually, meron na po ako na nakausap na ganyan. Ayaw niya kasi bata pa yung anak ko, 9, 10 years old, hindi pa nagre-regla. Bakit ko papavaccinate? Wala pa naman siya. Pero yun po yung hindi kasi masyadong na-explain. Na much better to receive the HPV vaccine nang wala pa pong exposure.
So, apparently, more awareness has to be
Yes.
given to parents. It's more really parents of 9 to 11, no? Ages.
Yes.
And kasama boys. Hindi ko alam yun.
Kasama yung boys.
Ina-assume ko lang talaga
Actually,
girls lang.
Oo, I wanted to give my boys noon, pero parang tumanda na sila. I missed the 9 to 11, well, long ago.
Yes. Pero up to 45 years old naman po. Pwede pa.
Pwede pa.
Even for boys, Doc.
Yes.
Even for boys, 45.
Yes. Yes po. Kasi yun nga, kasi pinaka-common cervical cancer. However, super dami kasing subtypes or types si HPV vaccine. So, kahit yung simpleng warts, HPV siya, genital warts, HPV din siya, and other types of cancers, possible din po na ang cause is si HPV.
All right, we thank you for joining us on The Big Story, Dr. Kirsten, Erica Ortiz. Marami pong salamat.
Okay, so if you didn't get your vaccine yet and you're under 45, you still have time to get one.
Have a chance.
Okay, but that will do it for us here on The Big Story this midweek. Thank you so much for watching.
We are back tomorrow at 8 p.m. See you then.
Kapatid, we are One News, all sides, all the time. Have a good night.